Hello people, today I have with us the Gundam Mk-II Titans version. This is a real grade, excitement embodied, 1/144 scale model kit. I had a lot of fun building this one. I built it about a week, maybe a week and a half ago, and I've been dying to put this one on for a review, but I wanted to make sure that I gave it due time and its justice while I did so. Some of the ones that I've done more recently, as you can tell, they've been a little bit faster than my average. So I wanted to make sure that this one had its due course. It's definitely one that's worth taking your time to look at. Now, I might not say anything that other people haven't said about this one. This is, I think, the 7th kit in the Real Grade series. It was a very early release for the Real Grade, so it was before they really came into their stride, I think. I have built the original Gundam and the Zaku's. I built the Mk-II regular and Chars, and people kind of complain about them. I think it's a bit unjust to say that they aren't great. They are really good kits. I heard other people describe them as hand grenades. I think that's a little silly, because, I mean, if you take one and you shake it up and like that, it isn't falling apart, it isn't dangerous, it's not going to hurt anyone, it isn't falling apart constantly. I did have some issues with the shoulder guards on the original Gundam, and the pipes on the Zaku were a pain in the butt to build, but honestly, they weren't that bad. Any case, I'm not talking about those today, I'm talking about this one, so let's go ahead and get onto it. So naturally, I want to get into the articulation first, but let's just take a look at what it looks like as is. So let me just go ahead and show you. This is what he looks like straight out of the box. I did apply the eye sticker. You see I did it a little bit crooked. Not a big deal. There is another one. I can show you those guys in a little bit. And I actually put on some of the reflective stickers on the weapons as well, and some gold ones on some of the under armor bits, some of the inner frame. I actually go ahead and show you what the inner frame looks like right now, since I have a picture of it. I'll go ahead and put that on the screen so you guys can see what it looks like. So one of the really cool things about this one is that a lot of the inner frame is complete before you start putting all the armor on. So lastly, before I go into the articulation, I did want to take all the weapons off, with the exception of the beam sabers, because they aren't inhibiting anything. So you'll see that they're right here. I'm going to go ahead and start at the head. Now the head it's a ball joint at the top. It's just like your normal, and it isn't really anything to write home about. We just think that's a little bit of a slow start, but it isn't. Just a rock on the bottom and a ball joint at the top. But you'll know, building a few dozen, maybe 100 Gundams, that the ball joint at the top is the standard feature. Usually they do have a little bit of rock underneath. Sometimes they have the double ball joint. That's just how it goes. You will see more articulation at the side here. So you see this one right here actually moves up and down as well. That's right in there. You also have these little AMBAC system parts. They can move quite a bit. They move in, out, back and forth. These are thrusters that he uses to keep himself balanced. The more thrusters you have at the further ends of these things, the more you can keep in control in 3D space. So they opted to have some more thrusters at the top of the unit. Moving on to the shoulder, we have the armor here. We can pull that one off and it's nice and easy. Just a little flap here. Not too much articulation here, but as you saw on this side, it moves up and down quite a bit. Nice and easy though. The plug goes into the socket over here, and there's 2 points of articulation. You can actually move this one here and over here, but don't stress out your parts. It will definitely wear this out fast, because these are all special joint systems that are all molded together in one piece you don't want to make sure you're really careful with these guys. That's how they used to do it. So that's one of the things that you have to look out for. Can rotate at this point. You can use your elbow extension just like this, and there are 2 points here. There's actually multiple points here. This one is separate than the rest of it, so you can see it spreads that one out separate than those. It's pretty cool to watch it happen without the armor on. There's also a piston system in here. It looks pretty cool in function too. This is why I knew it was gonna take a while to show all the articulation there. And then of course we have our ball joint at the hand. This one is a standard fist hand. It's just a fist. This part here is not actually attached to the rest of this one here. The ball is holding it in place, and so are these 2 parts here. So it just kind of moves along with the wrist. Looks actually really cool though. I'm going to pull the backpack off so we can show some more of the stuff here. So you can see the inner frame inside the boxy part here. The inner frame system here, actually, it just plugs from the top to the bottom. So there isn't a separate point of articulation from this to this. But with that middle section there free, it actually looks like there is, which is a pretty cool technique. Right here, this actually opens up to hold the bazooka cannon, the beam bazooka here. These guys, of course, flap up, down, and rotate just a bit. The butt flap actually does articulate just a hair, like so. And the front flaps do articulate as well. These ones are really delicate pieces, so you want to be careful with those. Those are also built into the inner frame, so you want to watch out. This set here actually opens up, if I can do that. Let's see. I'm quite the hand-fisted fellow. You can see in there, that's the pilot seat there. So you close that up. See if I can do that too. You gotta have a little more finesse than I do. I'm a big-fingered fat fellow, as I like to say. The inner frame here actually moves just a bit downward. There's a drop down. I'm not sure how it's done. There's directions to tell you how to do it. I'm not going to mess with it, honestly. It's nice and tight as it is, and I want it to stay that way, so I'm not going to mess with the drop down. But it is there if you want to do like a knee down pose, you know, have his knee on the ground. You know, you can do that. On the leg, it goes onto a peg, just like a lot of them do. And that, of course, gives you a rotation there. And, of course, there's a rotation in here at the upper leg. There is, it's not a polycac, you know, that's built in together with that solid piece inside here. That allows you to lift his leg sideways and in. If you go on this way, you can do the same thing out this way. So we're going to leave that down. This thigh section here on the upper leg section here has a very cool and sophisticated set of joints internally that allow it to have a slide on the armor plate. If you see that, you see it move up and down on the light blue part of it. Let me move his arm out of the way. You see it moving open, and then you see it moving closed. Really, really cool on that articulation. It does the same thing on this side, just like so. That pulls that down and pushes it back up at that point. And they're similar on this section of the knee. So you'll see if I move the lower knee, the upper knee armor moves upward. And then the same thing moving it back down. closes it back into place. It moves it back up and down, back into place. Obviously, I didn't clean that nub off very well. I'll have to do that when I bring this back in. This part here, actually, I had trouble with. One of the sections pulled out when I was articulating the knee, and I just pulled it out. I just left it out. I don't want to take this all apart and put that back together. I do have enough of this hose and the wire to fix it. I just really disliked putting that together. So that's going to stay as it is. The foot has tons of articulation. It's a lot to deal with. So let's go ahead and try. Let's get this one out of the way. This one is on 2 small pegs here. So they move up and down. That section is actually on a peg that goes down here and allows you to rotate it freely from the foot. This is pretty wild. Depending on how angled you have the foot, it can move more or less. There's 2 pistons on the lower leg here, and those move up and down, but you would be hard-pressed to see it with that armor in play. I would take that off if you wanted to exhibit that. But you can see it in there. It's a ball joint on the bottom, and then it's pegged in the top over here, so it kind of rotates up there as well. You have a ball joint style connector at the foot that allows you to move the ankle like so. And of course, as you're doing that, you are manipulating those pistons as well. So be careful not to overextend it. Then of course you have the foot articulation here. Here you actually can see those pistons in play. Pretty cool, right? That's ball jointed into this top part here. And that is the real grade Mk-II. Now, his AMBAC system, of course, has 2 more of those hoses. Be very careful articulating these. It also has these little guys here. These little thrusters are all on ball joints, so each one of them can be manipulated to whatever direction you want them to go in. But, of course, you're only going to want them to all face in one direction. Doesn't make sense to have them spread out everywhere. The bazooka has 1 point of articulation here, and you can actually remove the ammo. Slide that back in place. And of course we have this setup here. Ball joint inside the shield and a little hinge joint here. You can rotate it at this point here on the back of his arm, so it'll go up and down like so. You can also move parts of these sections up and down, but that's not really an articulation point. That's just to move, like, say, the point of the shield up, like so. You won't need it smaller. You need it larger. It does work. These sections also get removed, and they are for the rifle. Here's another hand. This one's just the holding hand for the rifle, but this section does come off, and you can reload it with the ones that are on the shield. There's one more to spare as well, but we're going to leave that one off. And then this one here flaps up and down, so you can hold it whatever angle you need to. And then, of course, you have this one here, which flaps up and down. It lets you have that scope. So I guess in storage, you're going to have that closed. So with the articulation all out of the way, I can show you the extras that this thing comes with. Now, one of the cool things that it comes with is another articulated set of hands. Now, these ones are really cool here. They have 1 set of articulation on the lower fingers here. You can rotate them like that. Same thing with the finger, but the pointer finger, but that one is on his own. And same with the thumb. These ones are actually quite articulated. And this one has a knuckle here you can actually articulate too. So do the individual finger, the individual pointer finger, and the group of fingers all works together in conjunction. So however you'd like to use them, you are welcome to do that. Just be careful. These are that special frame that, you don't want to mess with, because once it's gone, he's gone. You get both sides for that one. So you get both of them here. You get an open hand, and that one is for the shield side. And you get the fist, of course, that I had on earlier. You also get the beam sabers, which are very, very long. They're actually as tall as he is, if not a little bit higher. And of course, you can pull those off of the AMBAC system. It has a little peg there to hold it in place. And plug it in like so. That is now usable by the Gundam. Let's put that back. You get 2 of those. You also get the really cool Vulcan pod. Now, the first Gundam has a Vulcan built into his head. This one does not. So instead they have a Vulcan pack that goes attached to his head. I hate how this looks on him. It makes him look stupid. That said, it is something that you have the option to put together if you want to. You don't have to, of course. And lastly, comes with a little tiny pilot figure. That one obviously needs paint. He's just in black, but it is pretty cool, fairly detailed, I think, for a 1/144 scale figure. Obviously, I left him in the sprue. That way he doesn't get lost very easily. More things that he comes with actually are option parts to make this a little bit slightly different version of our Gundam Mk-II. We have closed vents, we have smaller vents, we have smaller shoulders than these ones. And of course, I mentioned before, the extra energy pack for your gun and some more hose for that wire. It's actually in my hand somewhere. I have it here. Well, whatever, it was in my hand. And then there's this an adapter for the base control, you know, a stand. So you have that. All of these different options are available, and they show you in the directions where and how to use them. And the last thing they include is a set of stickers. These gold stickers go all over this thing. I did not use all of them. They also give you options to make just the eyes, a black mask with eyes, or the transparent eyes. I use the transparent one. All these other markings, I don't know if you can see them, there you go. They are applied all over, and they do give directions on exactly how to put those on. And the marking numbers, of course, 1, 2, and 3, because there were 3 of these made. On to our size comparison. Here is the GBN base Gundam. This one is, like I usually mention, a little bit taller than the high-grade Gundam is. So as you can see, he is also taller than the real grade Gundam Mk-II. Here he is beside the Alto from 30-Minute Mission Series. Both he and the Gundam high grade that I showed before are in 1/144 scale, along with him. It's kind of funny, I really loved building this Jinrai from Frame Arms series. This guy is one of my favorites from the Frame Arms series so far, even though he was my first. The amount of detail that you have on him is equivalent to a high grade, honestly, compared to this real grade, which has so many more parts, so many smaller parts, everything layered on top of each other, where this one, it seems more like a high grade. And if you ever wondered, I actually believe that the Frame Arms Girl series is more akin to building a real grade than it would be to be building a high grade, where like 30-minute missions, 30-minute sisters would be more akin to building a high grade. So something like that. This is the Frame Arms Girl Architect. And in terms of size of parts, I think the sizes of the parts on this are very equivalent to what you see on these high grade, these Hexagear governors from the Hexagear series from Kotobukiya. This is Nero, and this is in 1/24 scale. And this here is my big daddy. This is Alex Gundam from the Alex Gundam from the Master Grade series in 1/100 scale. This one is my big daddy. This is the Master Grade Alex Gundam in 1/100 scale. I think building this one is akin to building a real grade. I think the real grade still has it in terms of part count, though. This one, I think this is just a lot more parts individually than there are, even on one of these Master Grades. So as you can see, I really appreciate the fine minutia of the things that they put into such a small kit like this one. in the real grade series. Now, of course, you're going to pay more for these than you would a high grade, but realistically, it's not that much more. I think for the price, you get so many more details than you do in a high grade at the same size and scale. It's quite nice to see all of the level of input that they put into it, like details, extras, joints, hands. Everything is looked into and tended to. Does that have everything that you want? Probably not. But it has a lot of what you want. I think these ones are incredible model kits. I think people who him and ha over real grades, I think they really haven't built one, or they have and they didn't do it right, or they just ham-fisted it like I tend to do, but in this case I didn't. So it's one of those things. It's like, I don't want to say that you suck at building, because everyone has a different skill level. I've been building model kits for a long time. I'm not the best. I still leave nub marks everywhere. I don't paint all of my kits. A lot of my kits just sit like this on the shelf. But I think if you really try, they really shine. And you can't be afraid of, oh, I need to cement this part together. This one's loose. And, you know, this one, it needs to be drilled out a little bit more. Sometimes you just have to do that. And these ones, it's a little scary because, you know, it has that inner frame built in, especially the early ones. But it's not that bad. It really isn't that bad. And look at this thing. It's solid as a rock right now. I mean, of course, it could change. This thing could go soggy on me and flop right over. But really, he's solid as a rock. He's one of the best kits that I have. You know, he's really cool. And I can actually say that about all of the kits that I have, real grade-wise. I've built, like I said, 5 now, and I don't have any issues with them. I don't have all of the newer ones. I don't have all of them by any means. There's lots of them. I mean, this is number 7. I don't have all of them. But I have the first one, I have the second one, and I have the third one. Those are the ones that are supposed to have the early real grade syndrome, as one of the other YouTubers says, as a lot of people parrot. I hear it a lot. Oh, don't get that one. It has early real grade syndrome. They flop. They die. My Gundam survived a house fire and he can still stand up. You know, so did my Zaku too. I'm missing parts from it, but that was from transportation, and I was an idiot and put it in a plastic bag with a couple other ones that I thought I survived. You know, it was one of those things. You know, it was one of those situations like, hey, I need to get out of the house. I'm going to save some of the stuff that I need, some of the stuff I want, and whatever. But that one, it survived a house fire. It still stands, you know? It's crazy to me. But go ahead and say whatever you want about these things. It doesn't hurt me in any way. It doesn't insult me saying, hey, these things suck. Whatever, you know? You don't want a real grade? Build a high grade. You know, you don't want to build a high grade? Go ahead and take a master grade down the block, you know? It's up to you, you know, at the end of the day. Some people don't like SDs. I love them. It's just it's a funny thing, you know. I get it. Maybe they just need to stop and build a tank. Build a car from the AMT series from the 1960s. Come build one of the Airfix airplane models, you know. Well, newer ones are really nice, but build an older one and then come back to these things and tell me that they suck. They don't. Those ones don't either. You know, I love the old model kits. They're great. You know, they all have their own charm to them. Some of the plastic sucks, but we'll just talk about that later. For now, let me just go ahead and close out with this guy. I think he's great. He's well worth the money you pay for him. I think I bought him for $35. This is a little bit more, like I said, than a high grade. Because your high grades are going to be at like maximum. Maximum for a standard size high grade like this is like $25. So that, you know, you get something really massive like a Nightingale or the Bound Dock, or, you know, what is it called? The Narrative Apex, whatever it is. That one's going to be expensive. You know, that's just how it's going to go. It's big. That's how they do their things. You know, you pay more for them. But you're hard pressed to find one that's over $30. And when you do, it's usually worth that $30. For these ones, they started around 30, and I think they go up from there. So I think your price point's a little bit higher, but the reward that you get for putting this together, I think it pays in dividends. You know, you've got a beautiful model kit at the end of it. It's just so charming. It's so inclusive, you know, everything is in it, you know, everything that you want, I think, is in it. And it's just beautiful to behold. Now, if you top coat this thing with some matte, it'll be beautiful, you know. It's like you don't need to do anything else. You paint it, it becomes even grander, you know. That's something that you strive to do. I have not painted a real grade kit. I have not yet. So we will see what happens. Whew, man, that's going to be scary. But like I said, I don't want to rant too long. I did give myself plenty of time for this one, but I don't want to take up all of yours, especially if you're watching this one, it's your first time. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover, though. You guys got to see all of the articulation. You guys got to see your size comparison between some of my other kits. And I showed you everything that was included. Let me see. What else do I have here? Have you guys ever seen the real grade instruction manuals? They're pretty cool. So you get the real grade, really cool picture. It's the same as the box art. It tells you what model it is, Gundam Mk-II. I do have the actual the red label because I got this some time ago before they came out with the blue one. So he's been sitting in my backlog for a while. You see there's the inner frame there. It's a 3-color for the most part, but you do get some colored pictures of these things. You see that's the advanced MS joint that I was talking about. If you want to translate that, I don't know what it says. But you see all the little cool things that it has in it. Like I said, it's mostly the 3 colors, so you get pink, black, and white. Pink, black, and white. And then you have really cool colored images. And it actually tells you a backstory there. You want to translate that. See what it would look like with all those stickers on it. It looked pretty crazy. And then, like I said, there's those optional parts. You can do it with the smaller vents or the big open ones. I use the big open ones. They're pretty great instructions. And here's some more. That's that drop down I mentioned. Do you see what you have to drop that down, then move this out. I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt it. You know, I don't want to mess with it. There's some more write-ups on the weapons. Really cool stuff, you know. There's the beam rifle. Huge beam rifle. That's what it's called, the hyper bazooka. Thought it was a beam bazooka. And then, you know, there's your proof of purchase there. Look at this. Look at this. Tells you every single part that you're going to put on all those stickers. It's pretty wild. Lots and lots of stickers, but it's definitely worth it when it's done. You know, it looks incredible. So if you haven't built a real grade, I recommend, you know, the Gundam real grade is great. The original one is great. It's fantastic, actually. This one, though, I think is just God tier. You know, it's really great. It's one of the best model kits ever. You know, it's just an incredible looking kit. I am very partial to the Mark II. It's in my top 5 favorite model kits, actually, not model kits, favorite models of Gundam. You know, that's one of my, you know, I just love the way it looks. It looks like a Gundam, but, you know, a utilitarian version of it, like the Ground Gundam does. That's also in my top 5. Oh, it's in the top 10, but not, you know what I mean. In any case, I really love this model kit. I think you will too. If you want to try a real grade series, this is the one to start with, honestly. I want you to do the first one. If you built a Grandpa Gundam before, it's one that you got to try. If you haven't, though, if you just want to jump in, this is the guy. You tell me it's a bad model kit, and I'll be like, I don't know what you're smoking, bro. I'm going to stop singing the praises of this thing. But this is my, I said, like, 6th model kit of the Real Great series that I've built. Absolutely fantastic, and I would not ever disparage this one in any way. There was nothing that I had wrong, except for the complication that I had on the back of the leg. If you guys are watching this later and you didn't see, I pulled that one out when I was putting it together. My fault, but c'est la vie. I'm not putting it back together. It is a little complicated. So, otherwise perfect kit. I think that's going to be it though, guys. You guys have a good one. I will see you guys next time, or you'll see me, but more than likely you'll see my stuff. Bye-bye.